Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Supreme Diaries, and I'm your host Supreme Kumbaya. I've actually been quiet because I've been trying to find my voice. I have been trying to find my niche, but I've actually been going about it the wrong way because it was just me having internal dialogues, me just thinking about it, and finally I guess analysis paralysis got to me. So that's what happened. That's why I've been quiet. But I sort of realized that the best way to get back on the platform is actually by getting back on the platform. So the best way to get the job done is by doing the job, not thinking about doing the job. Because just thinking about it truly won't get the job done. So here I am back, and I've also been thinking since I've been quiet for so long, when I come back, what's the first thing that I'm gonna talk about? And that also got me, almost had me paralyzed. Like, how do I come back? You mean you've been quiet for so long, and you were like, you know, don't want to call myself names, so I'm not. But yeah, so I realized that the best way for me to come back was to start where I am right now. The best way, like the best starting point is always where you are. So, guess I've been quiet, reading, consuming. That's what I've been doing, consuming information. That's what I do most of the time. So currently, I am reading this book right here by Malcolm Gladwell, The Story of Success, Outliers. So I actually got introduced to Malcolm Gladwell's work through a TED Talk that I watched. I think it was like a year or two back. And he said something that I found interesting and stuck with me. And then I actually started to check out more of his work, which led me to buying this book finally. But what he said in the TED Talk, he said that human beings believe that they have survived this long because they are untrustworthy towards each other. Like, somebody would actually say that I have lived this long because I don't let myself be a victim to the next person. I have lived this long because I do not trust so and so. I am not a victim of so and so because I don't trust them. That's the notion that we attribute our long lives to, that we don't trust each other. But he said that that's actually not true, because he even made the example that when John meets Susie, he's not going to say, I'm going to procreate with Susie because from everything that I've heard and seen about her, I'm going to procreate with her because she's an untrustworthy person. Because that would be crazy. Who would want to procreate with an untrustworthy person? But rather, John would say, from everything that I've heard and seen about Susie, I'm going to procreate with her because she's a trustworthy person. And therefore, that's what has led the human species to thrive this long, to survive this long. That's why we have survived this long, because we are actually trustworthy people. So for me, I found that what he said was an unconventional way of thinking about something, which made me think he must be an unconventional thinker. And I like unconventional thinkers because I think of myself as an unconventional thinker as well, or from that point. But I think before even that, I've been an unconventional thinker, but he also sparked the thing that in me that said, you know what, it's not wrong to be an unconventional thinker. Because I remember it was also like a year or two back where I had posted something on Facebook asking what's the difference between the miracles that Jesus performed and the inventions that Thomas Edison brought about. I mean, Jesus turned water into wine. Before he did it, it was never heard of before. Thomas Edison harnessed the energy of electricity and so on, and created your light bulbs and the radio. Actually, he's got quite a lot of invention under his belt, and some of them were never heard before he did it. So that was my way of thinking about things. If Jesus has done something that was never heard of before, was never done before until he did it. Thomas Edison on the other side also did the same. He did things that were never heard before and have never been seen before, never been done before until he did it. That was my way, but I could have upsetted some people about those. Somebody even cited that I'm in the Illuminati for thinking in such a way, or people say I'm in the Illuminati. But it was just me using my mind, using my imagination, like trying to think out of the box. Like, what do you think of it? Like I like to play the devil's advocate. But enough about me, enough about miracles and all that. But not enough about miracles, because I think this book actually talks about those things. So, what does this book talk about? It talks about the opportunities that people are given. Like, actually, it talks about the success stories of people that have been given opportunities that are not cited in their success stories, or even if they are cited, we tend to overlook them. So only somebody like Malcolm Gladwell, who's an unconventional thinker, was able to pick up those opportunities, those forces in the background that led to these people's success, and put them in a book. So actually, I would like to start with the Bill Gates story, but this is a book, so it's always good to start at the beginning. Chapter one, it's called Resetto Mystery. So Resetto is actually, I think it's like a small town in Italy. So back whenever these people migrated from Italy into the US, into a small place in the US, the Italians, and they called the place where they settled Resetto, uh, resembling the place where they had come from in Italy. So what was fascinating about these Italian immigrants is that they lived into their old ages. They lived into their old ages, which was very rare in the US at that time. People were dying young of heart attacks and diabetes and all these other diseases and whatnot. But these Italian immigrants were actually dying of old age. It was not because of disease and diabetes and all that. So somebody noticed that and was fascinated about it and decided to dig into it, like to find out what's making these people live long than the rest of the American citizens. And again, us with our conventional way of thinking, we think that what makes human beings live long is a healthy diet, is exercising, it's like to live life to a moderate, like a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that. But actually, when the research was done to these Italian immigrants that migrated to the US, it was found that it was not exercise, it was not diet. Matter of fact, actually, they ate a lot of oily food. They were not exercising at all, but for some reason, they lived longer than the rest of the American population. And surprisingly, the reason is that the reason behind them dying of old age than sickness was found out to be the sense of community. So when they migrated from Italy into the US, they pretty much moved into the same area. So it became like Italy 1.1. So it was reset to 1.1 from the Italy that was back at home. So it was the mini Italy. So they had a sense of community because we are all coming from the same place. We are people, we are like, we share the same culture, we share the same values. This is our community. So we're going to live like how we were living back home. So what made them live long was the sense of community. So these researchers actually cited that when they were looking into these people's lifestyles, is that they would find the old people living in the house with the young people. Like the whole family would be like from the aunts, the grandmother, the uncle, the mother and the father and the children were living in the same household. Uh, when they were out about in the street, they would actually take time to have conversations with one another. On weekends, they would gather around at the neighbor's house, having barbecue, not barbecue, that's the American thing, whatever the Italians do, making their pizza or whatever it is that but just having that sense of community, coming together, spending time together. When the way we live our lives now is that the young isolate from the old. We don't want to be where our grandmothers are. We don't want to be where our aunties are. Even when we out about and even if it's a relative in the street, it will be just like uh, a high and by. you know, we don't take time to spend time with each other. The family hardly comes together besides on said occasions. Or if it's a good occasion, then it's just Christmas. You know, we don't live together. And I think one thing that I've also noticed of in the context of South Africa, like where I've seen people that live that long, or rather people die of old age instead of diseases. I think it's in the Indian community. In the Indian communities, you'll find the whole family living together, and we actually find the eldest person there's the grandmother. And because from where I'm coming from, I'm like, damn, this lady's old. Why is she still alive? Because her grandchildren are there, her son or her daughter is there. You understand? So people they sort of have a reason to live long, unlike when you're living in isolation, I believe. So that's what. So that was a unconventional thing for people to believe would make people live long, living in in a community that you share the same values with, in a community that you can relate to, in a community that you can come around and rally around and gather around. And the most important thing that these people did when they got into the US, they built a church for themselves where they could congregate, you know. So that still upholds their values. That's where they can still gather. And this is where the church was, where most of the things that the community could build or rally about started from the church. And here we are from the same household and we all attend different churches. It's just something you should think about. I'm not saying I live with the whole of my family. I've also, but I'm just saying, like, these are the things that we actually need to think about. Could see why are people not living so long anymore? We think because they don't exercise, they eat uh, unhealthy food and whatnot. But the sense of community actually makes people live long. The research shows that. And then this is not chapter two, but it's a very important chapter, which actually made me also start thinking about that. Maybe recording this video from based on the findings on this book is actually quite insightful because Bill Gates is a computer software billionaire. It's been long since I checked his status, but I think, yeah, billionaire. We tend to think of his success as somebody that was hardworking, somebody that was determined, somebody who did everything in his powers to succeed. That's what we think. Because we tend to get blinded by people's success. It's only when you hate and then you go like you wanna find out how did he make his money and all that. But also that's what the media feeds us. That's what they tell us. Because they are also oblivious to these forces at some point until somebody actually takes the time and does the research and looks and points out, say, I think this plays a role in this person's success. This plays a role in having given this person an opportunity to be further than they should have been otherwise. So, firstly, Bill Gates, his father was a wealthy lawyer. At age, or rather in the seventh grade, he was taken out from the public school into a private school where the elite sent their children. And at that time, it was in the 1960s. I think that's what the book says, in the 1960s. No colleges had computers at that time, but the school that Bill Gates attended had a fundraising club ran by the mothers of the children at the school. So at a different year, they would fundraise for different things. And at the year that Bill Gates started attending that school, the parents decided to fundraise for a computer terminal. So that's where Bill Gates got the chance to start messing with the computers. When already some children or students that were attending college were nowhere near close a computer. He had already had the opportunity to have a computer in front of him. And not just that, apparently at that time you had to pay for mainframe time. So when they bought the computer, they bought it with a credit. Bill Gates and the rest of the students used it up, and the parents decided to fundraise again, buy more credit for the kids to be able to access the computer. So these are the opportunities that Bill Gates had that nobody else had at that time. You see, so these are the things that Bill Gates owes his success to. The fact that his father was a wealthy lawyer, able to send him to a private school, the fundraising club could buy the school the computer thing terminal, and that they could top it up when it ran out. Because you could find that actually you could not that you could find actually there is another guy, Bill Joy, who had an opportunity to mess with a computer at the college around the same time that Bill Gates was busy with a computer. But when their credit ran out, they had to find other means to access the computer. They had to try and hack it. They had to try and steal other people's passwords. You understand? So, as much as he had an opportunity to access the computer at the college level, but it was a little bit more difficult for him to access the computer than it was for Bill Gates. And Bill Gates' opportunity did not just stop there, because it's during summertime when they were at school recess, he had a company that called him to come and test out computer software. So you test out computer software if the software that is developed is working 100%, and that gave him more time to have access to a computer. So that means his computer knowledge increased exponentially compared to all the other kids. So that's why he could start a computer software company, because he had a much more greater understanding of computer than a lot of people at that time. So he owes his success to all those forces working in the background, all those opportunities. So Bill Gates' success is not from just hard work and determination. He had opportunities that were presented to him, that were there for him to be able to latch onto and propel himself to be the computer Microsoft genius that he is. You see? So those are the type of things that we need to look into, because now everybody, when they think of success, they think that it all has to do with hard work and no luck comes into play. These opportunities, you can call them luck, because we tend to think that only the hardworking and determined people succeed, and if you're lazy and you suffer, which is not true. Maybe some people are hard workers, but they actually do not have the opportunity to propel them into greater success as your Bill Gates and whatnot. Another chapter that I should cite, because actually what's on my head, because I pretty much didn't take notes while I was reading, which I should have done for a much comprehensive video. But I'm actually not doing a book review. I'm just, just getting back out there. Is chapter 9, where there's this student, Marita, from New York, somewhere in the poor background and whatnot, who was living with a single mother. They shared a 1-bedroom home. And before I get there, actually, this chapter speaks about how we tend to think that some children from poor backgrounds are not smarter as children from the middle class and the well-off background children. And once again, Malcolm Gladwell argues with that point here through the story of Marita, who was from somewhere in New York with a poor background, where she actually got a scholarship to an academy that was actually trying to prove that children with poor backgrounds are actually not less smarter than children from middle class and well-off children. They just do not have enough time to sharpen their skills. They do not have the opportunities to sharpen their skills. Because when you think of the American schooling system, they have a very long recess. Like the summer holidays, their summer holidays are very long. So the students from the poor backgrounds actually do any learning during the learning season when they're at school. That's the only time they actually get a chance to learn, when they're at school. Unlike the children from the middle class and well-off background, because them, even when schools are closed, they have tutors, they have reading material during those summer holidays, while the rest, they just pissing away their summers. So basically, the middle class and the well-off are able to send their children to summer camp, where some learning activity is taking place. So by the time when these children return back to school, the middle class, the poor, and the well-off, the middle class and the well-off children are far much ahead from the children with the poor background, because they were not just pissing away their summers during the summer holidays. They had tutors, they were reading, they were engaging their minds. Unlike the ones from the poor background, they were not doing much. So Marita got an opportunity to understand, to attend KIPP, this academy, where actually their schooling hours are much more drastic than the rest of the other schools in the US. They start school at 7 and come out at around 5 o'clock. That's their schooling day. So the rest of the schools in the States will probably come out at 1 or 2. But still, even if that's the case, the ones from the middle class and wealthy backgrounds have extracurricular activities. Either they go attend piano lessons, dancing, music, soccer, which these are opportunities that the poor do not have. But at KIPP, Merita is given the opportunity because within that long school day, they have some piano lessons, they have some violin lessons, they have some music classes in between. She's got an opportunity. And she says the school day starts at 5:40. That's the time she wakes up until around 9 o'clock, because when she comes home from school school ends at 5, she gets home around 5:30 to 6. She has to do homework at least for 2 hours. She has to tell her mother about how was school, and that's about it. She doesn't really have much of free time for friends. And people would argue that children need time. Children need time to socialize, engage. But Malcolm Gladwell argues this is Marita's bargain. This is Marita's bargain. This is what she has to bargain with in this world, to be just as smart as the rest of the other kids. This is the life that she has to keep up with. Keep her opportunity to be as good as the children in the middle class and wealthy off backgrounds. Because if she did not take this opportunity serious, she was going to fall off, just like the rest of the other kids from the neighborhood. And students from KIPP graduate and get scholarships into some of the US most prestigious universities. So this is Marita's opportunity. So if Marita is a success, it's because of that opportunity that she was given by KIPP. Before I lose my mind and start going off track, I think I should close it here for today. But I think I should close it by saying that we should all recognize the opportunities that we're given in life and make use of them. But again, we should not look at the successful people and think to ourselves as lazy, as demotivated, as not good enough, because we do not know what opportunities, what forces in their background are working for them to be where they are today. But instead, look at our opportunities and make use of them. I'm back, guys. See you in the next video.